All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So, on the road to the college football playoffs, I'm going to break down the team which I believe should start the season number one overall, the USC Trojans. So, they obviously have the best player in college football in Caleb Williams. I think they have the best offensive coach in recent football history in Lincoln Riley, in college football history. And they actually have a really improved roster. So let's go ahead and break it down. On the offensive side of the ball, they were really good last year, obviously, but position where they struggled was the offensive line. I think they've done well to fix that. Florida State transfer, Michael Tarquin, brought in Jared Kingston to help as well. This was a unit that really struggled, and they brought in some rock solid starters, as well as have some young guys who have some definite growth there. When it comes to the weapons, obviously they lost Jordan Addison to the draft, but they brought in Dorian Singer, probably the best receiver in the Pac-12 after Addison last year. Still have Mario Williams, still have Brendan Rice. They brought in Marshawn Lloyd from South Carolina, former five-star, who's a more north-south runner to go in with Relic Brown. So I think that gives them a really good 1-2 punch. So you put all these things together, I think they have the clear-cut best offense in college football. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where they really struggled last year, obviously. They made, I believe, the biggest heist in the transfer portal, bringing in 300-pound Bear Alexander from Georgia, a guy that Georgia expected to play real meaningful amount of snaps and really be an anchor of their defense. To bring in a guy like that, to pair him with Anthony Lucas, who was another five-star recruit that was at Texas A&M. I think that they have the makings of a real front of the defense, and they brought in a bunch of other transfers. You have Mason Cobb, the linebacker from Oklahoma State. They brought in a defensive end, Sullivan from Purdue. They brought in a kid from Georgia State, Muhammad, that a lot of people are really high on. So we'll see what he does. And they have Gentry, who's probably one of the weirdest football players I've seen in recent history. Just a linebacker with that size profile. He looks like a high school center. And I mean, he makes plays. So, I'm not trying to knock him, but this is a defense that I think that was below average last year that could really make a jump to good to and maybe even on some nights great. So the transfer portal, especially in the spring, they brought in a lot of good players, and I think they positioned themselves really well to be the number one team out of the gate, especially with all the flux that the normal suspects like Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State have with their other quarterbacks in their room. I would say they're definitely a team to look out for. So when you look at their schedule, they start off the schedule pretty soft, 3 straight home games versus San Jose, Nevada, and Stanford, which I think is going to be very beneficial for them, especially the defense, just to get things get their feet wet. Now they go to Arizona State. They brought in Willingham, the coordinator from Oregon, who had a lot of success there. They also brought in Rashada, the five-star quarterback who had that NIL deal that fell through with Florida. So it's going to be interesting. They have a little bit of a quarterback battle there with the former Notre Dame quarterback who went to Arizona State, and now that Rashada kid, which I'm guessing Rashada is going to win that out just on the talent. So that's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a kitchen sink Super Bowl type game for Arizona State. So, they're going to go hard at it. Then they go at Colorado. I think they're going to be a team that's going to surprise a lot of people, Colorado. Again, kitchen sink Super Bowl game for them. And then Arizona. Then they go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I think, is going to have one of the best offenses in recent history for Notre Dame. Hartman, I think, pound for pound, might be the best quarterback that they've had there for some time. So it's going to be interesting to see how USC deals with that. But I think they should have enough talent just to win that track meet. Utah, I don't think Utah is as strong as they were last year. This is going to be a home game for USC, and obviously the sting of defeats to them twice last year. I think that USC is going to be ready to play that game. So the bulk of the schedule, the real trouble of the schedule comes towards the end. You have Washington at home, that's bringing back Penix, that's bringing back Ondunze, that is going to have a real high-powered offense. Now, this is going to be a home game, and Washington did not play well on the road last year. So, that is in USC's favor. And then at Oregon, is a team that has national championship aspirations as well, playoff aspirations as well. Bo Nix, very talented team. Obviously, their head coach is one of the better recruiters in football, college football. So we'll see what they do, but that's going to be an hellacious game. And at that point in the season, you definitely have to be concerned with attrition, health. It's easy to look at these games and say, "Oh, win, loss, but you don't know who's going to be playing, who's not. So towards the end of the season last year, the attrition really started to affect USC. So we'll see how they do this time around. And then finally, they end off at home versus UCLA. Obviously, that's going to be a kitchen sink game for UCLA as well. They got one of the better quarterbacks in their recent history, a 5-star recruit as well. So we'll be very seasoned at the time. So, this is a tough schedule for USC. I think the Pac-12, this is probably the best Pac-12 in recent history, where you have about 3 or 4 teams, where I think probably three teams in Washington, Oregon, and USC that can not only get into the playoffs, but think have enough juice to actually win the thing. So hopefully that's something that goes in their favor, and they can afford to lose a game or two. But I really like USC this year. They're my pick to win it all. I think that they should probably meet in the championship game. I'm probably going to go with Michigan, them versus Michigan. But let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and as always, the game is the game.